I've always been a people pleaser. For most of my life, I tried to keep everyone happy, even if it meant working myself to exhaustion. I've been working in marketing for over 10 years, and like many people, I've had my share of good bosses, average bosses, and a few terrible ones. But one boss stands out more than all the others. Let's call her Pamela. Pamela was the vice president of marketing and sales for a mid-size retail company where I worked about 5 years ago. She joined the company a few years after I did, and according to rumors, she wasn't even the first choice for the job. I worked directly under her as a manager. My responsibilities were massive. I handled the company website, coordinated product merchandising for stores, managed advertising campaigns, organized monthly sales materials, monitored the department's budget, created sales reports, coordinated projects, and even handled presentations and creative briefs. In simple terms, I was doing most of the operational work for the entire department. Pamela, meanwhile, often arrived late to the office, spent long hours at business lunches, and seemed far more interested in planning company parties than actually managing the department. Despite this, she controlled the budget, and that's where things started getting questionable. Pamela frequently overspent our department budget on unnecessary events and personal connections she hired as agencies. When I raised concerns, she told me to move money from future months to make the current budget look balanced. At the start of each month, we had a clear budget, but by the end of the month, I was instructed to edit the numbers so everything appeared under control. I followed her directions, something that would later become very important. At the same time, I was working incredibly long hours. Many days were 12-hour shifts, and weekends were spent catching up on work while my family slept. Eventually, the stress caught up with me. I developed a severe infection that turned into sepsis, and I ended up hospitalized. My doctors and my husband both told me the same thing. The stress from work was destroying my health. While recovering in the hospital, I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I checked my work email and Pamela's email. At first, I saw something nice. A bouquet of flowers had been sent to me from upper management wishing me well. Pamela had arranged it. But while checking the receipt email, I noticed something disturbing in her inbox. There were several email threads between Pamela and her friends. In those emails, she complained that I couldn't just recover faster and get back to work. She also said she couldn't find any of my files or reports, even though everything was clearly organized on our shared drive. But the worst email came from an old colleague she was asking for advice. Pamela admitted that I handled most of the department's work. Her colleague suggested something shocking. If the company's sales continued to decline, Pamela could blame me for mismanaging the department. Since I was already hospitalized, she could potentially accuse me of misusing company resources or even stealing from the company. In other words, she was planning to use me as a scapegoat. When I returned to work, Pamela called me into her office. She told me that she was concerned that I had too much responsibility. Then she removed me from managing the department's budget. She also told me that I was not allowed to speak with the accounting department about anything related to budgets. If I had concerns, I had to talk only to her, not HR. At that moment, I knew exactly what she was planning. Fortunately, I had built a strong relationship with Lois, one of the senior accountants in the company. Lois had always told me that if I ever needed help, she'd do her best to support me. So I gathered something important. I collected the invoices Pamela asked me to deliver. Then I added copies of the email threads where she discussed blaming me. I also included the original unedited budget reports, along with older budgets that showed Pamela's handwritten instructions to alter the numbers. Finally, I included an email where Pamela subtly threatened my job if I didn't follow her directions. Then I walked down to the accounting department. When I ran into Lois, she started asking about the invoices. I calmly told her that Pamela had instructed me not to discuss budgets with accounting. Lois noticed the unusually thick folder sitting on her desk. She looked at me, nodded, and told me I could leave. Within a week, Pamela was fired. Apparently, the investigation uncovered everything: the altered budgets, the emails, the attempt to shift blame onto me. Later, the CEO and HR personally apologized for everything I had gone through. They even gave me a paid vacation to recover from the situation. I stayed with the company for another year before eventually moving on. Today, I'm once again working as a manager in sales and marketing. I have an amazing boss who trusts my decisions and supports my work. Recently, we started hiring new people for my team. While reviewing applications, I saw a name that immediately caught my attention: Pamela. At first, I wondered if it was just someone with the same name, but after opening the resume, it was definitely her. Her resume listed the same company we had worked together at, and even more interesting, she had claimed credit from many of the projects I had actually managed. She even claimed that she had generated an 87% increase in holiday sales, which was completely untrue. For a moment, I thought about interviewing her just to see the look on her face, but I didn't want to risk my boss questioning my judgment, so instead, I simply did something much more satisfying. I clicked one button: disqualified. And honestly, it felt amazing. Now, I'd really like to hear your opinion. What do you think about this situation? Was the revenge justified, or do you think it went a little too far? And if you were in the same position, what would you have done? Would you have handled it the same way or taken a different approach? Drop your opinion in the comments below. I always enjoy reading your thoughts and perspectives. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, share it with others who enjoy real-life stories like this, and subscribe to the channel for more betrayal and revenge stories. And if you have your own story or a story about someone you know, feel free to send it to us. Email avacodybrown@gmail.com. Your story might be featured in one of our upcoming videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.